Hey there, this is a short video on home inspections. In this video, we're going to talk about home inspections for buyers, home inspections for sellers, and then we're going to talk about home inspections for new construction because I think that is a slightly different category. So here we go. So let's say you're thinking about buying real estate. Hopefully you're going to buy in Southern Delaware and hopefully going to use Dailey Dailey Real Estate to help represent you as a buyer's agent in that market. And so what is the value of a home inspection? Well, the home inspection is going to tell you some things about the house that you probably couldn't see in a regular showing. Even if you have an agent like one of us who understands how houses are built and the systems pretty well, there's just stuff we're not going to catch. And that's why you hire a home inspector. So you get a reputable home inspector, they go through the house. Statistically, nationwide, I've heard as much as 86% of home inspections reveal problems with a house that people were not aware of at the time of the showing when they went through and then they came back and then they decided to put in an offer and the offer was ratified. But they put a home inspection contingency in, which was probably smart. 86% of the people are going to see some issues. Now, this is not really a cause for panic, especially if you're buying an existing house. Like existing houses are not always perfectly maintained. They have had normal wear and tear and things get old, and that's just the way it is, and that's okay, and that's a part of the process. And so we're going to allow that process to continue, and that's the home inspection is going to provide a snapshot of the house that is a lot more detail than you might otherwise get just by walking through the house. And so the home inspection finds it. So for the buyer, I would say a home inspection is essential if you can get it done. Sometimes in a strong market or on a very desirable piece of property, a home inspection contingency is negotiated out of the deal, and you have to sort of take the house as it sits. And that's not necessarily the wrong decision. It's really the question of just wanting the property. So there's a lot of factors that go into a home inspection. Typically in Delaware, in our experience, we see houses put under contract with a home inspection contingency. And so here's what a home inspection contingency means and what it doesn't mean. It means that the buyer's going to get the home inspection contingency. The buyer's going to order the home inspection. The buyer's going to pay for it. Things that are listed as major defects, which is not the complete list of things that a home inspector will find. Some home inspectors deal with cosmetic issues, and they will put those things like that in the report, like problems with the paint or with the trim or scratches in the floor, things like that. None of those generally are considered to be major defects. Major defects are problems with the systems, the electric, the HVAC, the plumbing, the roof, the overall framing and construction of what they can see. Those are the things that are really subject to a home inspection. And then what really ends up happening is that the seller gets your report and it will get a list of repairs that you would like the seller to make. And that list can be as long or as short as you decide, and that gets negotiated. So in a way, a home inspection is a little bit of a renegotiation of the trade because there are repairs. And sometimes the seller will make the repairs. Sometimes they'll just offer a price concession instead of making the repairs. It really just depends on that. And if the seller can also refuse to make repairs, and if they do, that gives the buyer the opportunity to decide to move forward knowing what is wrong with the property, or they can terminate the contract and go and look for something else. So there are definitely options available. So if you're a buyer, a home inspection is something that you want to put in your contract as one of the contingencies to close. And you want to maybe get some recommendations on a good home inspector. They're like everything else, they're not all created equal. And so you want to be able to find someone that is going to find you the things that you really need to know and not really cloud up the whole process, because this is an emotional decision and you're so excited about this new house and you're envisioning your life there, and then all of a sudden, you know, somebody says the hot water heater is not in great shape, and you're like, oh, my dream house, there's a problem. Like there is a problem, but that doesn't mean that that problem is going to make it less of your dream house. It's just your dream house, and maybe it needs a new hot water heater, and it's still your dream house. So it's important to realize the power of the emotions that are involved in the purchase and sale of real estate so that you can really make smart decisions that are not necessarily completely emotionally based. So if you're a buyer. If you're a seller and you're looking for a home inspection, home inspections are not necessarily your friend. it's probably an opportunity to renegotiate the terms of the deal a little bit. Depends on the home inspection, and you don't have any control over how and who does that home inspection. So I would say, first of all, if you're a seller, you want to disclose any issues you already have with the property. If it's going to be something that the home inspector finds, maybe it's better that you tell the buyer up front what it is so they know, so they have a more clear picture. Disclose, disclose, disclose. That's would be my first recommendation. If you know your HVAC system is not in great working order, you can say that it's old and it likely needs maintenance. If you know your fireplace doesn't work because you don't care about the fireplace and you haven't turned it on in 15 years, those are something that you can disclose up front. And what happens with some sellers who really want to avoid that contingency, they'll go ahead and have a home inspection done and they'll just give it to prospective buyers. And so here it is, here's what's right and what's wrong with the house. And that upfront disclosure, I think, makes for a much smoother transaction because if there's a lot of things wrong with the house, but the house shows really well and the buyer doesn't know what these things are wrong, they can demand some repairs that are pretty expensive. And it really opens the entire contract up to renegotiation, essentially. And you might not want to have to negotiate the sale of your house after finishing negotiating the sale of your house, because nobody really wants to do that. I mean, that makes perfect sense to me. So sellers, you want to disclose, disclose, disclose. You want to understand that you could be obligated to make major repairs or compensate the buyer for the cost of those major repairs if you don't want to make them. Now, home inspectors will make some issues out of some small things. The biggest one we see that is kind of silly is this anti-tip device. And so there is this little contraption that costs a couple of dollars, and it goes behind your range. So if you're buying a house that has like a slide-in range, this little thing goes under and it hooks one of the feet of the range and keeps it from tipping over, with the idea that somehow some small child is going to decide to use the front of your oven as a jungle gym. And if they do, that oven without an anti-tip device could fall, could kind of like keel over. They could bring it down or something like that. These are older houses don't have these anti-tip devices because they weren't required by code, and it is something that it just seems that every home inspector likes to find. And oh my gosh, I don't have an anti-tip device. You're like, no, you don't, and you've gotten through X number of years of your life without one, and your kids survived because they somehow understood that an oven wasn't a jungle gym. I don't know. You can't make this stuff up. We live in a litigious society, and so there's a lot of people that want to protect themselves from potential litigation, and that includes home inspectors. So you sort of have to watch out for that because it's a mixed bag. So, okay, and finally, new construction. If you're thinking about buying new construction, are you interested in getting a home inspection done? And I would say the answer is yes, qualified. First of all, it's great accountability for the builder. Hopefully you've chosen a builder that doesn't mind a home inspection while the house is being framed before the drywall goes up, because that is a great place to catch something. With this caveat, you have to hire a home inspector that knows what they're looking at. That's not necessarily something that they are all trained in, but it does give you a look. It is going to improve the overall quality, I think, of the house if you get a home inspector. And if your builder will not let a home inspector in while the house is framed before the drywall goes up, that's a red flag. That is something to ask about before you sign the contract. And that's just one of the little things that at Dailey Dailey Real Estate we know and we understand about working with builders. We know the builders that will let you walk the house while it's being framed, and the mechanicals are roughed in, and we know the builders that won't let you do that. And it speaks volumes about their quality, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't buy a house from a builder that won't let you do that. It just depends on your circumstances, the location of the property, your budget. There's a lot of factors. And so that's why we'd really like to sit down with you if you're thinking about building new at the Delaware beaches prior to your appointments with the builders. So we can help sort some things out for you and go on these appointments with you and be your advocate for things like that. So for new construction, I would absolutely recommend it. You're going to pay a little more because you're going to want the home inspector to come out at least twice. They're going to do a home inspection right before the drywall, and they're going to do a home inspection right before closing. And that is a process that I think is going to give you some peace of mind, because if you Google any of the large builders, all you're going to see is the horror stories online. And yet, D.R. Horton is one of the builders that gets trashed online, just as an example. But, they sell, I don't know, 60, 70, 80, 90,000 houses a year. So they can't all be bad, right? And not everyone's had a horrible experience with them. They're the largest home builder in the world. So it really just depends on your personal experience. And again, it's why we want to work with you to make sure that when you build new at the Delaware beaches, you're going to have a stress-free, much more successful process. So to sum up, so if you're a buyer, you definitely want a home inspection and a home inspection contingency. If you're a seller, you have to understand that a home inspection contingency is going to open up the contract to a little bit of a renegotiation. And so if you want to head that off at the pass, you can have a home inspection done and just have it be part of the disclosures when you put the house on the market, or you can just kind of know that's coming. You might know some issues that a home inspector is going to find in your house, and you would disclose those up front so that even if it does come back on the home inspection, it doesn't surprise your buyer. And so that is a transparent and smooth process. And with new construction, it's absolutely essential to have a home inspection and to ask a couple of questions about how you can get a home inspection up front before you sign a purchase agreement with the builder. I'm Scott Dailey for Dailey Dailey Real Estate. If this type of content appeals to you, then click a follow, send us a comment. And if you're thinking about buying or selling at the Delaware beaches, we'd love to be a part of the conversation. Have a great day.